Shiru shiru l'Adonai. One more time, Scott. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. I will sing unto God a new song. Shiru shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir hadash. I will sing unto God a new song. As you find your seats, we're going to go to Lo Yisa Goy just for fun, which means nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor ever again shall they train for war. You can just sing A-O, A-O. Thank you, Gideon. A-O, O. Goy el goy cherem, lo yimadu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherem, lo yimadu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherem, lo yimadu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherem, lo yimadu od milchama. Broken a sweat yet, so maybe we could do one more song. Should we try? Or do you want to introduce yourselves first?
It is so great to be here with all of you tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks to Scott Barancik for leading us into the congregation today and welcoming Shabbat with us.
So, I'm Pamela Siskin. I'm a very old, retired cantor, but I'm here. So all I want to say is, when we sing, take notice of some of the liturgy, because we are going to be discussing, all of us, some of this liturgy and how it relates to us. But I'm not going to say any more, because I'll ruin the surprise, and then you'll leave before we start. Okay.
Terrific. And I'm Rebecca Barancik, just one of your lay leaders. So excited to be up here tonight with Cantor Siskin and Joyce Liu. And we're very excited to pray and sing and study with you this evening. And because we're so excited that we're all together, let's all sing Hine Ma Tov, how good it is to be together on this day. If you need the words, page 10.
And this is the one that is from Alana Arian from the Hebrew text, Psalm 133. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet achim kahan yachad. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet achim kahan yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet achim kahan yachad. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet achim kahan yachad. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Ma Tov u'manayim shevet achim kahan yachad. טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
It is now my pleasure to invite Myrna Wolf up to the bima to light the candles for us for Shabbat. I just met Myrna this evening, but she has been coming to our congregation on and off for the last year and a half, so it's a delight to meet you and have you participate in our service. And for those of you who don't know it, the candle blessings on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And now we continue on page 5 with the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho ve'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta leotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
It's a very special water. I think it's from 5 minutes ago. I should have mentioned that the reason that Pamela and I are so lucky to be up here today is that we decided to give Rabbi Mangold the weekend off. She hasn't had a vacation, I think, since the last time we did this back in December. So she is doing wonderfully and getting a much-deserved rest in Shabbat, this Shabbat. So with that, we will move to Lecha Dodi and continue welcoming the Shabbat and the Sabbath bride into our sanctuary. We will sing verses 1, 2, and 9, and as is our custom, if you are comfortable, we invite you to rise at verse 9 and face the door as if we are bringing Shabbat into our sanctuary again.
And this Lecha Dodi is by Alana Arian. It's got a laid-back Latin feel, so you're welcome to groove. Laid back. Okay, here we go.
Verse 9.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat lekabela. שמור וזכור בדרבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם אל תפארת בלי תהילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה. You know what to do. D לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לקראת דודי, פני שבת לקבלה. Please rise. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובטובה, תוקמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה.
Phew, that was good. Thank you. Please remain standing as we turn to page 26 for the Chetzi Kaddish.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברח ירתה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיית לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם בעלמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרמה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונהמתה, דמין רם בעלמא, ויאמרו אמן.
As we turn the page to page 28 for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, we also say hello to anyone watching us in cyberspace. Glad to have you with us as well. Page 28.
Yada die die die, 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 yada die die die. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barehu et Adonai ha-mevorak. Baruch Adonai ha-mevorak le'olam.
let's all turn to page 31 in the middle of the page and read together. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. 34.
Is that? Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. And together on page 36, let's all chant the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Elohim mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinanta levanecha v'dibarta b'ham b'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו מטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue on page 40 with the singing of Micha Mocha. But I want you to notice, and I'm sure you do, that this is where the Jews were released from Egypt. They crossed the Red Sea, And it's the first time that they sing out and say, "Who is like you, O God?" For 400 years, they had not seen a sign of this God. And now, finally, after we've been through Passover and all the other stuff, they suddenly realize and sing as they cross the sea, as the sea parts, "Who is like you, O God?" And I just want you to bear that in mind as we continue. Mi chamocha. Sorry.
And we're going to do the Mi Chamocha by Alana Arian again. And one of my greatest hopes is that you guys will participate with me. You just need to use your fingers or your hands to clap and count to the number 5. So you just have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can snap, 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 snap. Snap, snap. You know, I think we'll do jazz hands or something, but that 5 is silent, okay? So we're going to have a slow intro, and then you'll hear the part where you can start going. All right. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, die, die, die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Sell it. Yeah, die, die, die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. You guys are doing so great. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha behedar b'kodesh. No ratahilo, no hosefele, no ratahilo, hosefele. Who is like you, and who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai?
All right. Now, how many people were able to sing at the same time? Because that got a little challenging for me. It was like the... Thank you, Joyce, for being a wonderful teacher, as always.
We continue on page 46 as we rise for tefillah, or we rise for the main prayer of the evening. Take note.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Sifatai, Sifatai Tiftah, Ufi Yagita Ilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשנה יפה. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש, כן קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללו חסלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. And let's read together in the middle of page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
We come to that point in our service where we think of those who are physically, emotionally, spiritually feeling bereft. And we remember with our community, with our voices, the following people who are on the Mishneh Berach list. And I'll give you a chance to call out names after I've read the list. We pray for Donna Axman, Shari Craig, Cindy Feder, Debbie Highwell, Frank Moss, Julie Weaver, Madeline Arabia, Patty Bregman, Rusty Cluck, Phyllis Sorota Feldman, Elisa Freeman, Robert Friedman, Jordana Fuller, Terry Gilner, Stephen Goldstein, Barbara Hansen, Kara Herbst, Stephen Kerr, David Kroll, Jimmy Lambert, Matthew Sternberg-Lee, Mark Lyman, Paisley Lewis, Marus Maruskin, Marcia Michewitz, Anna Power, Betty Schroeder, Laurie Sierra, Liviana Sulza, Lida Tate, Eugenio Wands, Nancy Scher Weiss, Marty Siegel. If anybody has a name they would like to share at this time, feel free to shout it. Thank you, Gideon. Thank you. Turn to page 253 and join together in the singing of Mishe Berach. 253.
Mishe Berach Avotenu Bekor Avraham Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Bekor Avraham Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And now we invite you for a few moments to have your own feelings in your own heart. There's a lot to think about, a lot in the world, a lot that's happened, but also we have personal feelings in our heart, and there's a place for that also in our religion, in our practices. So I invite you to take a few moments to think of your week and how you're feeling and how you would like to feel. We'll continue after the silent prayer with page 62 with Oseh Shalom.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Rebecca and I are going to let you in to our real-life, everyday drama. And then we're going to ask you to join in with us. So we have conversations quite a lot. They're very, very interesting, like the price of cheese and all that. But the other day, Rebecca did call me, and she said,
Hello, spiritual leader in Seminole. It's Rebecca.
"Oh, Rebecca, fine, how are you?"
I'm good. How are you?
"I am adorable." "What's new?"
Oh, just grading exams.
Always, she's grading exams. What else are you thinking about, Rebecca?
Well, I'm also thinking about a book I just read on Christian theology.
Tell me more.
I'm wondering, we don't usually say it with all of this drama, but we do say this, by the way. I'm wondering, is belief in God central to being Jewish?
What a great question. Of course, I know the answer. No, I don't know the answer, but let's look at traditional Judaism and Reform Judaism, and let's remember Moses Maimonides, known as the Rambam, great Jewish philosopher, who created 13 principles of Jewish faith. Now, you have to remember this is way before Jews coming to America in great numbers and much before the Holocaust, but plenty of terrible things going on at that time. But and I think Rebecca's going to give you something in a minute. So his principles of faith were based on the very foundation of Ani Ma'amin. I believe. I have faith. I believe that God is one. I believe that there is no other God. And those are the fundamental principles, and you'll see the 13 principles. But then we have to think of American Judaism and what happened after the Holocaust, especially, but certainly before, when Jews started to come to America.
And for that, we're going to show you the so-called Columbus platform of Reform Judaism, which refers to these guiding principles that the Central Conference on American Rabbis set out in 1937. And it begins like this: in view of the changes that have taken place in the modern world and the consequent need of stating anew the teachings of Reform Judaism, the Central Conference of American Rabbis makes the following declarations of principles. It presents them not as a fixed creed, but as a guide for the progressive elements of Jewry.
So, have we got the handout?
I do.
We're going to hand out to you, and there will be an exam, and you won't be able to leave until you answer correctly. We're handing out to you, one side, the 13 principles of Maimonides of perfect Jewish faith, and on the other side, principles from the Columbus platform, which Rebecca put together. And I'm going to invite you to take a look at it for a few minutes, and then we're hopefully going to have a very lively, fervent discussion about this. So, I won't test you on every single principle, but just give me observations of what you notice of anything about traditional, the 13 principles of faith of Maimonides, which, and you have to remember that in biblical times, Jews were Jews. They weren't Reform or Conservative or Orthodox. Jews were Jews. And our ancestors had the benefit of crossing the Red Sea and knowing that God did that. There was actual proof of the miracle. So they never needed to say, is there a God? I need evidence of a God. Where is God? They had proof. They had proof throughout their journey through the wilderness. So, any observations on whether is it essential to be God-centered in our Jewish religion? Is it can you be called a Jew if you are not God-centered and live your life by those principles, by faith in God? Is it possible? What do you feel?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but it occurs to me that the Columbus platform is much more social and much more ambiguous, and that the Maimonides points are more between the individual and the individual's relationship to God as a Jew.
Absolutely. So the principles of faith, as Ted said, is the relation. He seems to be the relationship between the person and God. Columbus' platform is much more general and much more reflective of our Reform values. Anybody else have a comment?
We're trying to speak into the microphone so anyone online can also hear us.
It's
if
more
you
a
don't mind.
question to you. Isn't that something everyone determines for ourselves?
That's the question. We determine it for ourselves. But every one of us sitting here, well, we're in a Reformed temple, absolutely. But every one of us sitting here determines it for ourselves. So I guess the question is, are you Jewish if you live by Reform principles, which is do believe in one God, but more they follow the writings of the prophets that we must, Lo yisagoy el cherev, as Joyce sang at the opening, we shall beat our swords into plowshares and there will be no war no more, because we care about the repair of the world. Although some will acknowledge that God exists, some won't. Yes.
I don't know if this is at all what you're getting at, but number 9 in the Maimonides principles is the belief in the immutability of the Torah, and the Reform movement says it's not immutable, that it evolves in time as we change, and I think that probably allows for doubt about the existence of God.
Excellent, thank you.
And in fact, to me, it looks like the only real prescriptive part of this, everything else seems maybe aspirational, if you will, but the only prescriptive thing is that we are charged with the responsibility of overcoming evil and striving after ideal ends. Number 6, I guess.
So it's the principles of overcoming evil. How do we overcome evil? Is it God-driven? Or is it what's in us that makes us good? Is it God or is it something else?
If I believe that I am created in the image of God, then God is within me. God is not outside and in a different place. So God, the God within me, is responsible for creating the good and fighting the evil. It's not up to anybody else but me and the God within me.
Anybody else? Rebecca, I'm asking you to throw yourself in. Oh, Jackie, sorry.
We have a choice. If God gave us free will, and we have a choice to make in this world what we are going to do. And part of it is being respectful of the gift of this world, in which we don't know of another place where we could reside. From everything that science has shown of the many worlds that exist, even outside of our our Milky Way, which is a constellation, of course. This is where we were meant to be, and we have to protect it. And a belief in God helps us make that choice, I think.
Not to be a contrarian, I think one of the problems with the word God is you can have a consensus among a certain number of people here that they believe in God, but that word is defined at such a deep introspective level, hopefully, that there probably is great difference in one definition from another.
Thank you. Yes.
What I think is interesting about what is set forth on this page is that there is no mention specifically about a covenant with God, between God and the Jewish people, and individually when we enter into a covenant with God, which perhaps is assumed within these tenets, but I think it is exemplified in the 10 central beliefs that are set forth under Maimonides. The belief that in God's non-corporality, and that he will be affected by any physical occurrences such as movement or rest or dwelling, which kind of ties into the idea that God somehow can be all-powerful and yet not have the physical capacity. Created men with the physical capacity to repair the world that he created. So I think, I don't know, I think that's a commonality that is unspoken on the page, but I think it's one that we should recognize.
That's beautiful, and you're right. It doesn't mention we're the chosen people. Maybe it's assumed. I remember we say we're not the chosen people, but the choosing people, that we choose God. So are there any thoughts? I mean, does anybody here feel there's evidence of God or need evidence of God to be Jewish? Does anybody, how many people here feel, and you don't have to put your hand up, of course, that our Judaism is based on social justice, being good, being kind, putting a light into the world? How many people feel that, rather than the personal relationship between God and ourselves? I'm sorry?
Petals of a flower.
Perfect. Good. Hang on, we're just going to see Josh and then we'll come to you soon.
I think this is a discussion that it's an answer that changes even within each person almost daily, if not hourly, minute by minute. The name Yisrael literally translates to wrestles with God. It's not a question that can be answered once and for all by any individual. It's something that everybody experiences differently through the passage of time as they continue to live their lives Jewishly.
Thank you.
What you described, Pamela, was humanity. It is not necessarily connected with religion. Being kind, caring for others, social justice, that's, to me, is humanity. That isn't necessarily connected with a specific religion. All religions have aspects of humanity in their, as part of their faith. The Maimonides column, to me, sounded more like law than anything else. You will not go faster than 55 miles an hour on this road. Where the Columbus platform gives people choice. It kind of allows them choice, where the other is much more restrictive. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't people that believe very strongly in the restrictive aspect of it, but there should also be room for the more, for people to opt into different aspects. And as far as belief in God is concerned, I think that, for me anyway, I can't speak for anyone else, that has, the belief in God has changed for me over the course of my life. And the older I get, the more I believe in God.
I love what you said, Sue. And I think that's a fundamental question that neither Rebecca or I can answer. What makes us, as Sue said, if you're a good human being, you're a good human being. You can, any religion. So what makes us Jewish? What makes us not a Buddhist, not a Christian? What, food? Who said food? Okay. So, I mean, we're not going to answer that question. Of course we're not. But it's an ongoing discussion between Rebecca and I. It really is. And we're just so interested to hear what you feel. I still struggle to find what makes me Jewish. Is it my religion? Is it food? It's not food with me, but maybe. Is it culture? Is it community? Or is it God? And it's interesting because if you look at the first 4 commandments, do not have any other gods. I am the only God. Do not make or worship idols. Do not disrespect or misuse God's name. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Well, those first 4 commandments, I don't know if I'm sure we do adhere to it, but it's not as important, it seems, as don't murder, don't commit adultery, be good to your neighbor, etc., etc., etc. So if you've got the answers, put them on a postcard and send them to us, because it's, I'm still searching for what makes me Jewish, and what makes other people feel that they're Jewish. So if you want to be on conversations with Rebecca and I, we'll call you. But please, let us have your thoughts. If there are any more thoughts?
For me, I believe being Jewish is about the identity. It's a combination of everything that you mentioned. It's culture, it's the family unit. I believe that's of paramount importance. I grew up in a different country with a very, very small Jewish community. And I can say that although I may not be the most religious person, I certainly believe in God. And I take my identity as a Jewish man very, very seriously. So in terms of interpretation, I think that's up to each individual where you draw that line, what makes you Jewish. But for me, it's a combination of everything. It's an overall identity that I'm very proud of.
Thank you so much.
And I would add, again, Pamela and I have been having this conversation for years, and we've been fantasizing, if you will, about having a bigger discussion in adult education kind of meeting on this, which maybe some of you would be interested in joining us so that we really do it. But I think in some ways this conversation itself is very Jewish. We are wrestling with God, as Josh said, which is one of my favorite things to say, that Yisrael is he or she who wrestles with God, and that is what we're doing, and not all religions would permit that. So to me, in some ways, being the God wrestlers, whether we believe in God or don't believe in God, the very fact that we're able to have this conversation, to me, is a very Jewish one. I also really love what you said, Myrna, that we're all created in God's image, and, what is the God in me doing to help the God in you? And what does God mean? Going to Ted's point, there's that idea that when two people are talking Torah, God is present. Right now, God is present in this conversation, and what that God is may look very different from you to me to the next person. So I really appreciate having this conversation with all of you, and would just end by saying Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, is something we can all do, and it's a way we can act like God if we believe in God, or we can just do it and make the world better. And I know we all do that. So with that, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and thank you so much for participating in the conversation with us. And now we will return to our service.
I think we're going to continue with the Aleinu, which is on page 282, and I would ask you to rise, please.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נשאנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחת האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
And now we continue. Please remain standing on page 294 with the Mourner's Kaddish. This is a point in our service where we declare life, we declare the greatness of God, the justness of God, and we remember those who have died recently or in years past. Recently, recent deaths are Greta Gross, mother of David Gross, Violet Supak, Gloria Rubin, cousin of Phyllis Tauber and Paul Tauber. We also remember Bernard Bennett, Malcolm Burko, Rita Bogowski, Louis A. Brody, Martin Gerstenzang, Harry Glick, Ross Kitchler, Max Kochman, Pete Lee, David Levine, Selma Pearl Levinson, Abraham Manis, Florence Marger, Hal Marlowe, Marjorie Mayrock, Samuel Miller, Betty Newberg, Edward Oppenheim, Julius Eugene Plotka, John Reed, Janet Root, Michael Rosenstock, Saul Ross, Sarah Salomon, Nathan Schutz, Donald Keith Starks, Adeline Tarkow, Leonard Tarkow, Janet Tversky, Rosalind Weiss, Cheryl Walson, and Carrie Zeimer. If there's any name that I've missed, or you would like to mention a name of somebody that you are saying Yahrzeit for, please feel free to give us their names now or say them in your heart. We continue on page 294 as we recite together the mourner's Kaddish, not forgetting the terrible losses that this country has suffered. All countries have suffered, but this terrible loss of 19 children and 2 teachers in the past few weeks. We remember their names also. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'zman kori v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. D'amiram v'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mama, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all the world, to which we all say, Amen. And now I invite, please be seated. And now I invite Lisa Cohen, a new grandma, I'm just going to point that out, to give us our notice.
Thank you, Grandma. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Temple Beth-El. I'm so excited to see everyone here. It's been a while since I've been in the temple, and it's just wonderful to be here with the community. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for a beautiful service, and Pamela, it was just a lovely service, and Joyce. It was really wonderful to be back in the temple and to hear all of you and to be here with everyone. In a few weeks, we are going to celebrate Pride Month with a special Shabbat on June 24th. To register to walk with us for St. Pete Pride's Parade, it's Saturday, June 25th, so please register. We can wear bright colors and come to show your support for the LGBTQ and Jews and allies. See our events page for details on how to register. Space is still available for our Expanding Horizons field trip to the Arts and Crafts Museum on Tuesday, June 21st. For a nominal fee, you will enjoy pastries and beverage with other attendees, followed by a private docent tour of the museum. So you can register online before the space is filled. For more of our events coming up and to register, also see our events page on the website and be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected. And by the way, I'm Lisa Cohen. I meant to tell you who I was, and I was a past president and on the board of Temple Beth-El. So again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and have a good evening.
You, Lisa. And I'd also like to announce that, as you may have seen, we have some changes to our Shabbat morning services. If you are interested in joining online Shabbat Torah study tomorrow morning, please let me know, and I will send you the Zoom link for that. I was so happy to meet many new people this evening. I'm sorry I haven't met some of you before, even though you've been coming a while. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you, got a chance to see some old friends, but really, I was most happy to see 3 of our young people returning. Sorry, Sarah, Josh, and Kaylee, I must embarrass you, but it's great to have you back, especially. So these are our people in their 20s who've come back to be with us. So yippee-yi-yay, it's great to see you all here. Thank you, Pamela. I'd love to be with you in any way, shape, or form, as well as you, Joyce, as you know.
Likewise.
Did you have any concluding comments before we get to our concluding song?
Well, funny you should know. All I want to say is we're finishing on Hallelujah, our special request, because it says, rejoice, celebrate in God's name. So it's appropriate, and it's a beautiful rendition by Joyce. Thank you.
And you're welcome to clap again, or snap your fingers, or sing out really loud. Okay?
No counting.
No counting at
No
all.
math.
All right, just smiling. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaya. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehaya. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
With feeling, one more time.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
And as David so graciously reminded us, we should say motzi. Of course, we've all eaten before, but this,
That piece is yours.
That piece is mine. This is motzi for when you go and have dinner with all your friends. So David, would you like to take this down to the congregation? Thank you so much. And as we say together,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Be safe. Hey.
All right, buddy.